Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this regular meeting of Council to order. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Councillor Ballinger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will declare on correspondence item number 28 on page 22. It's a deal with Foxbridge Residential Plan of Condominium. I still look after the Ladies Golf League there on Tuesday mornings.
Okay, thank you. Are there any others? Seeing none, review of items not listed on the agenda.
Through you, Your Worship, there are 2 items of correspondence not listed on the agenda, as well as 2 reports.
Thank you very much. Announcements. And I believe we're only going to have one announcement tonight, and that is on Saturday, March the 24th, Durham Region lost its most staunch supporter in the death of Chair Roger Anderson. I worked with Chair Anderson for 27 years. He was not only a working colleague, but a very good friend. Roger's commitments to anything that made Durham a better place in which to live, work, and play were numerous. He was chair of the Durham Regional Police Services Board, chair of Durham Region Transit Commission, a very active member of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, a member of Go Transit for many years. On the local front, he was involved in the region's long-term care homes, the construction of several new police facilities, the amalgamation of ambulance services, and building of affordable housing. And the list goes on and on. He wore the chain of office with dignity and respect. However, Chair Anderson wasn't shy about showing his disdain when people were speaking or behaving inappropriately, be they councillors, staff, or the public. He was always prepared, be the decision centering on a local, provincial, or a federal matter. The chair did not hesitate to take on federal and provincial governments when he felt that the region and its residents were not being treated appropriately. Roger was diagnosed with cancer less than a year ago. He fought until the end. He hadn't been back to Regional Council since the Christmas break, but let me assure you that he knew everything that was going on, and then some. Roger was giving staff instructions and advice right up to a week ago. Chair Anderson turned 65 on Friday, March the 23rd. He went far too early, but his pain and his suffering are over, for which I am so thankful. I know I speak on behalf of councillors, staff, and the residents of Uxbridge Township when I say, thank you, Roger, for a job exceedingly well done. May you rest in peace knowing that you made Durham Region what it is today. Our sympathy goes out to his sons, Warren and Ryan, and their mother, Rhonda, and his precious granddaughter, Riley, the absolute apple of his eye. Until we meet again. On a happier note, we have a check presentation by the Uxbridge Soccer Club tonight regarding the collaboration for the new field house at the Fields of Uxbridge. And with us this evening, we have Grant Oliver and Sharon Kennedy. So if you'd like to go up and say a few words, Grant, or Sharon, you might need to be up there for support. And you just push the button, that's it. Thank you.
Good evening, Your Worship, Council, staff, and guests. I'm here, as the Mayor said, to present our check that we had spoken about in a presentation about a year ago now, probably, in the collaboration of the building of the field house at the Fields of Uxbridge. And we are excited to be a part of this. opportunity to enhance the fields and the recreational facilities in our township, and look forward to continuing that collaboration with the township.
Thank you very much, Grant and Sharon. I would just like to say that it's wonderful what can happen when we have partnerships. We can get so much more done, and this check tonight will certainly boost the building of the fields, and appreciate all the time and the effort that the Uxbridge Soccer Club have put into the raising of this money, but also for being there when we needed some help in designing and information about how the soccer field should be in the future. It's been a great working relationship with you, and I hope it continues for many years. And this contribution tonight is greatly appreciated by all of us. Thanks again so much. That is more than generous and certainly well appreciated. Okay, the next, come back anytime. Okay, our first delegation tonight is Bruce Gerard, and Bruce is here to request support for the work with the Province of Ontario to communicate the need for a long-term facility in Uxbridge. So, just to give you an update, we have been in ongoing discussions with Markham Stovall and the two Lynns, and they are certainly on board, and have got other people that are very, thank you. Oh.
Yeah, like the other one.
Got darker.
Yeah.
That are interested in this development as well. So, Bruce, I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, thank you. The more the lights are off, the better I look. No, I'm not getting a hug for this one. Okay, well, thank you for having me present tonight. I've only got a few slides. I do presentations most days with my job, and I'm used to two things: walking around and not being behind a podium. So this may get uncomfortable. Using somebody else's remote does too.
Can you show them how to? I can't work it, so.
And it's usually just a right click. Well, here, we'll do this. Yeah, everything's locked.
Something locked in?
No, what's going?
Takes a woman, Bruce.
Oh, it's starting already. Okay, I'll start off by introducing who we are. Our group came together in about 2012, and to be clear, we're a nonpartisan group, and we're not related to any of the long-term care operators. Our group consists of Joan Weidman, who would have been here today, although she's presenting in front of the Ajax Council on an unrelated matter, Brian Evans, Rob Croxall, and my friend Mike McDonald. The goal of the presentation is just, or of our initiative rather, is to ensure that the Township of Uxbridge has adequate provision for long-term care facilities, and more specifically, to get Reachview rebuilt. So the story behind Reachview. It was built in 1975. I'm going to just, with a little bit of history of our group coming together, it actually started with Mike. Mike started off putting just a group of people together with an intent to perhaps have a faith-based long-term care facility built. We spent a fair bit of time working through that, made some efforts. We got to the point of becoming a not-for-profit. We looked into what's going to be involved with raising the significant capital that was required, and quite frankly got to the point where we knew we were in probably too deep, more so than we can handle. At the same time as we were realizing that, we came to recognize that the operators were at a bit of a stalemate as far as getting money from the province, and we were all at a standstill, and our committee pretty much folded for about a year. There was a point, I was at another event, I ran into Mr. Evans, who said to me, "So what are you doing about that long-term care facility idea?" So it started back up again. So we've been going pretty hard at it again for a year, and one of the main things we recognize we need to do is communicate what it is we're trying to achieve. So more of an education, which is one of the main things I'm trying to do here, is to make sure everybody's familiar with the situation that we have. So with that situation, we have Reachview. It was built in 1975. It's considered a C home and doesn't meet the current design standards. With it being a C home, what happens is over 2/3 of the people, picture a hospital ward room where you've got 4 people in a fairly small room. Unlike a hospital room, they're not going home. So they're there with the 4 of them together all the time. There's only 1 washroom for every 5 people that are there, and there's 100 residents at Reachview right now. There's no secured behavioral unit, so what that leads to is people with behavior problems are free to walk around, and there have been some issues that have come with that, and that's another issue that they're dealing with. One thing that's on the package that I sent to you, but isn't up there, is the lack of facilities as far as palliative care goes. When it gets down to the final days with a family member, Mike did arrange, and he showed me they've got a small room that they've converted into a place where you can be with a loved one during their final days. But if there's more than one person that's in that situation, what ends up happening is that the family is with the loved one either in a semi-private or even in a quad facility. So far from ideal as far as dealing with somebody in that situation. This is not a short-term issue. The stats that I put up there that was made available, 47% of the town of Uxbridge is in 30 to 64-year-old age group. So there's lots of people coming through, some of which will need long-term care. And currently over 20% of our population is over 65, so in between 65 and 90. So we've got a problem now with people in the facility. We've got quite a few people potentially, not everybody hits there obviously, but going that way, and then there's a continued wave that will continue to happen. One of the biggest issues is that the operating license is going to expire in 2025. So with that, 2 things can happen. One is a very unfortunate one, where the province could in fact close the facility. And with that, whichever 100 people are there would have to be sent to other facilities. The second option is that the province extends the operating license. So if that happens, that just continues on the same situation that we're in now. So what's happening is that the facility is at capacity. We've got people coming up from Toronto, because we're not alone with this situation, so people coming from Toronto and using the facility. And as a result of that capacity issue, that people, our citizens of Uxbridge, that need care the most, are being forced to go into other facilities. As noted in that package that I gave you, there's another 100-bed home in Port Perry. It too is a C home. So you're into a 30 to 45-minute drive to get to an A facility within the Central East Lynn. One other thing with the Central East Lynn, we're in the bad situation. We have the longest waiting time to get into long-term care facilities in the province. The Central East Lynn has that problem. So what I'm looking for, it takes 2 to 3 years to plan and receive approvals for a site and about another 2 years to build it, so we've got to get moving. There are 5,000 beds available now. The province has released them. There's been a couple of announcements. The town of Havelock has partnered with the township or the town and is building a home. There's been an announcement, I think, Bowmanville, Clarington, down that way, with another one being built. So it is happening. And I'll talk about the submission that's gone in now in a minute. And then there's 30,000 additional beds are going to be made available. So this isn't a long shot the way it was before. These facilities are available. So what do we need? I need people from the township to reach out to multiple long-term care operators. We've had some discussions with Revera Living. They're not the only show in town. There are others, and we need to reach out proactively to them to ask them if they're prepared to come and build in Uxbridge. I need a councillor to take the responsibility to help us lobby with whoever that provincial representative is. We're going to go into an election in June. We don't know who a couple of the candidates are going to be. We do know about Peter Bethenfalvy. We need a stronger voice to join us to lobby with those candidates to say, we need this facility built here in Uxbridge. I'd like to see that as the fields of Uxbridge are expanded and facilities are moved out there, or any other land becomes available, or if anything is designated on the museum lands, that we do give the long-term care operators the opportunity, the first right of refusal for that land before developers get a chance at it. We need 4 acres. That 4-acre plot will be to build a single story, which would be 96 beds. If they go to 128 or maybe more beds, they'll just go up to a second floor, but they'll maintain the 4-acre footprint. We have, as I said, 100 individuals at Reachview today. The new facility will be bigger, perhaps as much as 50% bigger. And we need to, I understand we've got a sewage capacity issue with the township. We need to know that this facility will get built and that we need to allow for reserve some sewage capacity. Your Worship, you're talking about the issue with the hospital. So there's a sensitive issue with this. We understand that through the 2 LHINs that are involved support the idea of the hospital build. There has been discussions about perhaps putting a long-term care facility with that campus approach. That's been done up in Parry Sound. I'm going up in a couple of weeks to see it. It does work well. But it's not assured. And one of the issues that we've got is through the discussions I've had directly with an executive at Revera, is we don't know for sure that the Central East LHIN does support it. As recently as Friday past, I had her follow up with the Central East LHIN. She asked specifically, do you support us? She has not had a reply. It's not a timing thing, because they did have a ping pong of emails. But when she asked specifically, do you support us? Crickets. So I'm concerned that we've got that. So I need a strong voice to go directly to the Central East LHIN and say, do you support us? So that's it. That's all the slides I had. I just want to thank you for your attention on this. We have some very vulnerable citizens here in Uxbridge, and whatever we can do to help them will be appreciated. We need this facility. I'm happy to take questions now. You can contact me through email, or you're welcome to call me at home.
Okay, thank you very much. A number of us, Councillor Malloy, staff, there was the CAO, myself, who else was at the meeting with the hospital? Was 3 of us? Okay. The 3 of us met a couple weeks ago to discuss this, and I came away from that, and I can look at my my one staff and councillor, and we all came away from that, I believe, with a very positive feeling of what was going to happen. And yes, there will be something other than a hospital built there. and they're looking at their options. But certainly the number one option that they're looking at is the very thing that you're speaking of. It could house doctors, it could house dentists, it could house a number of medical professionals as well. But we're in the very early stages of this, but I can almost assure you that if anything's going to happen, that we're there. I can say that we got very good feeling as the CAO Markham Stovall told us that things are going very well, and in fact that both LHINs supported this type of redevelopment on the hospital grounds. So
Yeah, there is a disconnect there somewhere, so...
there is.
Yeah.
And I think there isn't anybody here, up here, or in the audience that doesn't support a long-term facility. Goodness knows we need it. You know, as our population's getting older, we're going to need it sooner than later. And unfortunately, governments have not planned for this flux of people that are going to need healthcare facilities in the very near future. So I'm suggesting that we will do what we can do, but I don't think we should be perceived as working against each other. And I would like to go down the road, Bruce, that we're going down. And hopefully it'll be the road that you want to go down as well. To me, it doesn't matter who gets the long-term care home.
No, it doesn't.
As long as we have one.
Yep.
I mean, I would love the region to have another facility here, because I'll tell you, I know I'm biased, but the facilities, and Mike is the director, Mike, the administrator of Lakeview Manor, and we are head over heels about any of the provincial ones.
Yep.
So I hear what you're saying. I hear what your goal is. I can't thank you enough for the time and the effort you've put into that. I don't want you to quit. But I think in fairness, you need to know where we're going and where we're at this point in time.
Okay, fair enough. We'll continue to follow up. We're going to have a couple of the operators come to town to meet with us, and whatever information we get from that, we'd share with you as well.
That would be awesome, and I would also encourage you to, if you have any questions or you want to field anything, then I would suggest you phone Joanne Marr at Markham Stovall Hospital, because she's certainly the point person for us. Councillor Malloy is on the foundation board now, and he will keep council abreast of what's going on that end, but Joanne has made a commitment to us and to staff that she will keep us informed.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Any questions from anybody else?
What?
Just one quick question, Bruce. You had said we talked about Reachview, and it's 100 beds. Is that the same size as the one Mike runs? Is yours 100 beds too?
Lakeview's 149.
Okay. So is that the largest ones they go? Is it 100 and a half?
No, there's larger homes out there, but generally they're building homes in around the 128 to 150 range. They don't want to build
Okay.
them far.
Okay, sorry. For those who couldn't hear Mike, because we're recording, do me a favor, can you just hop up to the microphone and answer the question? Thanks.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Just saying that the Lakeview Manor is 149, that generally speaking right now, homes are being rebuilt at 128 to 150. They don't want to build them much larger than that, although they are still building some much bigger, but that's the preference, is that size range.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Barton?
Mike, can you continue to stand up? Can you, I know that there's different types of care at Lakeview. There's some seniors apartments that are attached or sort of in the same campus, I believe. My grandmother lived there for a while, so I just can't remember.
Well, it's Gillespie Gardens, which is housing. It has nothing to do with the long-term care home, but they're both run by the region. So one's a regional housing project that's on the same property as Lakeview Manor. Lakeview Manor has an adult day program in the home as well, which is unique. There's only a few of those. Hillsdale Estates in Oshawa has one as well. But we have 149 residents living in Lakeview, and the level of care at Lakeview would be similar to what you see at Reachview in terms of acuity, except we have a secured unit that Bruce referred to in his presentation for a behavioral unit and for wandering that Reachview doesn't have. So we have that unique feature, and it's a much larger home with everybody's got their own room and their own washroom, which is again just the new design
Okay.
standard.
Great, thank you so much.
That would like to ask questions, but what Bruce is asking in his presentation is to have a counselor as an advocate. Could I suggest, I think that's a good idea if this is to proceed, but I would also suggest that probably the timing is a bit off. This isn't going to happen right away, and you will have this council support, believe me, regardless of who gets in Queen's Park. I would like to, I mean, we've only got a matter of 4 months sitting here now, Bruce, before there's a election. So I would suggest to council that we leave that appointment until January, and then you'll have 4 years of working with that person versus me suggesting somebody or somebody volunteering here tonight, and they might not run, or they might be defeated, or they might be back.
Well, one thing that we're going to do is try to get a commitment from any provincial candidate as part of their campaign, so that we can hold them accountable when they do get elected.
Okay.
So you're welcome to join with that as well, but we're doing that with Mr. Bethenfalvey now,
Well,
and we'll
you
do
might
with
have
the
to
others.
show Mr. Ford that there's life beyond Eglinton Avenue.
Maybe so, that could be part of the issue.
And that's, I'm not saying that politically, but he is very, very Toronto.
Toronto driven.
Yeah. The other thing is what this council can do and do tonight, is that we can reserve allocation, maybe up for 100 people. And then that would put sewage allocation. You'd have that when this goes forward, because as you know, if there's a gold coin in anybody's pocket right now, it's sewage allocation here. So we might want to have a further discussion on that later in the meeting, but that is something that we could do to make sure. And then with the allocation that would be in place today with Reachview or Dyham or whatever we want to refer it to as, they've still got sewage allocation, so it would increase the capacity of the new home up to whatever it was needed. So I think that what we could do is we could discuss that, and then to have staff refer to staff for a report to come back. So, okay, Councillor Malloy.
Just a very quick thing. The Hospital Advisory Committee is meeting on the 3rd of April, Bruce, and I'll be happy to report back with any updates they have. That's the committee that's been sitting for a couple of years on the new hospital, so
Terrific, okay.
they're meeting next week.
Great, thank you.
Councillor?
Thanks, Bruce. First, thank you and your group for doing this. It's a long-term thing. I hate to use the pun, but
It is.
it actually is. Just 2 quick questions. You mentioned a 4-acre footprint for a, I would assume, a 150-bed facility. Is that correct, Mike, or?
I can take the first part. That,
Can you?
a 4-acre property would be for 96 beds.
Okay.
And then go up from that.
Is that a 2-story building? What's
1 story,
So
for 96 beds, 1 story. Correct me if I'm right, or if
I
I'm
mean,
wrong.
4 acres is a sizable chunk, as you know.
Yeah.
Could you put it on a smaller piece and build
Okay.
up, I guess
Sure.
would be my next question.
You can go up, but 4 acres is sort of a template that all the operators are using right now
Are
to
they?
build
Okay.
a 1 or 2 story with receiving, driveway, fire access, and all the other good stuff. So that's sort of a template they work from, and if you want more beds, you just have to go up because of the cost of land being prohibitive to keep it all on 1 story.
So do they need that, to have that site acquired with the sewage and all the rest of it prior to going to the Ministry of Health? Do they
Yeah.
need that? They do?
Yeah.
Well, they've gone to the minister. The application has been submitted at the end of February from Rivera
Yeah.
to the ministry and the Ministry of Long-Term Care, Health and Long-Term Care, and all they've had so far is an acknowledgement of receipt.
Mhm.
But they didn't have to, all they have to do is say that they're interested
Okay.
before it would ever be approved, then there'd be the issue of space.
Right. And you also mentioned rebuilding, Reachview. Could you do it on that site and still have the larger facility?
I don't know the size of that piece of property. The issue would be displacing the 100 residents that are there while you build, so probably not.
But again, if you built up as opposed to a one-level building.
The wise man
there's
behind me says the
options
answer is
there,
no.
Anyway, I'm just putting it out there.
Okay, thank you.
But obviously, there's a model that they follow, so if that's the way it is, then
Yeah.
that's the way it is, right?
Okay.
Again,
Great,
thanks, guys.
thanks.
Appreciate it.
I'll give you that motion if you'd like to refer that to staff to come back on that.
Okay, so we've got a motion that will say, and you correct me if I'm not saying it correctly,
won't
that
use
we
that one.
that we ask staff to report back on the feasibility of putting 100 units, 100 people, of sewage allocation for a future build of a long-term care facility.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, it's too bad you didn't. Okay, moved by Councillor Bryan and seconded by Councillor Barton. All those in favor? Carried. So you've got sewage capacity, being looked at this point, okay?
Sure, thank you.
And, as I said, please come back, if you need help between now and the new year, come back. Any of us will certainly, assist you as much as we can.
Okay.
And then they'll, appoint, or they'll consider appointing a, person to work with you.
Fair enough, okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Suzanne Kershaw and Trudy Ledsham, and Phil Smith. And these 3 people are here on a request for the creation of an active transportation committee of council. Could we maybe have some lights on the situation? Oh, good. Yeah. Welcome. There you go. You have to speak into the mic as well, okay?
Okay. Good evening. Is that good?
That's good.
Okay. Thanks for having us. I'm Trudy. This is Suzanne. Phil. We're here to talk about active transportation in Uxbridge tonight. We might want to just start with what we mean by active transportation. We do mean walking. We do mean biking. We also mean skateboarding. We also mean scootering. And we also mean wheelchairs. We mean people who are outside of the cocoon of an automotive vehicle. Okay? That's what we're talking about. We have an agenda, quickly. We're only going to be 10 minutes, and we don't have $50,000 for you. I'm so sorry. But, okay, we're going to cover who we are, why active transportation, the Uxbridge context, our goals, and some potential partners. For small communities and main streets, active transport offers significant benefits. We all know we enjoy streets where there's people out and about. That's what makes a town vibrant. Streets friendly to active transport see improved business, less crime, and lower rates of pedestrian and cyclist injuries. The air quality is better. Street dust and particulate emissions are reduced. There are health benefits for participants who manage to easily get their recommended daily activity as part of their daily life. But there's also significant health benefits to those who don't participate in the form of reduced air and noise pollution. Everyone benefits when more people use active transportation. There's benefits to drivers. There's fewer cars on the road. There's reduced congestion. You're not fighting to get down to Timmy's at rush hour, which is noon, when all the high school students are going. And towns with people in the street also have an increased sense of community. When you walk, you meet your neighbors, you meet your friends as part of your day, and no matter the weather, when a street is full of people, it's exciting and fun. Oh, it's not Suzanne yet. It's me. Who we are. Okay, we're community volunteers, and we see a AT gap in town between our trails and our businesses, and accessibility due to a lack of infrastructure, and gaps between our tourism model of the Trails Capital of Canada and the actual experience of being in town. There's a bit of a disconnect there. But we see a great opportunity for Uxbridge, for more residents to embrace active lifestyles, for businesses to benefit from increased foot and bike traffic, and for a busier and more vibrant downtown.
Okay, so conveniently, the Uxbridge urban area is an ideal size for walking and biking. It's about 4 kilometers around, and within this area, all the basics of daily life are available, including shopping, schools, and recreation facilities. Next is that the regional roads, highlighted in red on this map, divide the town into 5 slices. So these streets are often the main transportation corridors in town, but gaps in the sidewalk network on these streets can make key destinations difficult to access. And while sidewalk maintenance on regional roads is a municipal responsibility, bicycle lanes on these roads are a regional responsibility, which can have both its challenges and advantages. We already know that Uxbridge is an active recreation destination for both residents and visitors. We're so fortunate to have walking and biking trails and road cycling that residents can take advantage of, and that draw people from far and wide beyond Uxbridge. Also key to the Uxbridge context is that 43% of the population in town are either seniors or school-aged children. So these are people that may not always have access to a vehicle, so alternative modes of transportation are particularly important, such as walking and biking. As a town with an aging population, it's critical to provide an environment that encourages seniors to maintain an active lifestyle. We've also noted that currently there's minimal programming to promote walking and biking, but events we've seen in the past years, such as UxCycle last September, where it was extremely popular. So there's definitely an appetite for walking and biking in this town. We've noted that active transportation infrastructure, both in town and in Uxbridge's hamlets, does have gaps. So when walking and biking doesn't feel safe or convenient for people, it definitely limits the full potential for people who might otherwise be keen to use active transportation. We feel that the timing is right now for advancing active transportation in Uxbridge. The regional, provincial, and federal governments are all quite supportive, and we can see this through grant opportunities that are available for active school travel initiatives in the Ontario Municipal Commuter Cycling Program. Just briefly, this slide, I have lots of pictures, but this slide shows a cross-section of the places and times of year where walking and biking are used by residents. And as the weather warms up, you only see more and more people out there. We want to emphasize that there's already an appetite for getting around on foot or on bikes, and improving the infrastructure in town will only increase the number of people who get around on foot and on bike. So we certainly appreciate that there is progress being made on this matter. So even in the last few years, there's been the Main Street North sidewalk that's gone into the Trestle Bridge, the paved path to Elgin Park, and proposed bike facilities on Brock Street and Main Street North. So there's definitely progress being made. Just briefly touching on the existing active transportation network in town, I have mentioned that we've observed gaps in the regional and municipal sidewalk network on the streets especially for people who are out in strollers or using mobility devices, when the sidewalks end prematurely or there's no curb cuts when the sidewalk changes grade to cross the street, for example, it's very difficult for people to get from the sidewalk to the front door of a store. That top right corner is a footpath leading up from the Toronto Street sidewalk up the hill to Tim Hortons, so it's kind of just a makeshift path that gets carved out every year. I think that picture was taken last winter. We've also observed that the majority of shops in town don't have bicycle parking, and this can be a deterrent for people choosing to bike into town if there's nowhere safe for them to lock up their bikes.
Thanks, Suzanne. So we've spent a lot of time talking about what we actually are asking council for, specifically, like why we're here. And one of the things that has become apparent to us, and the mayor's already referred to this tonight, is that there's an election on the horizon, and so it's probably not a worthwhile endeavour to try and get something official through council going with this particular council, because there really won't be time to achieve anything, is the advice we're getting prior to a new council being formed. So we've established some short-term goals that we think are good activities for us as private citizens to engage in pending that electoral transition, if there is one. And so you see these on our short-term goal slide here, which the three things that we've identified we feel as valuable activities are, firstly, we think there's a need to actually go out and look at in a systematic way, what the gaps in our active transportation network. I showed you some great pictures there, I think, that show challenges, which are often quite small, where there's infrastructure, sidewalks and so forth that get you 95% of the way to a destination, but there's a 5% piece missing. So we think we can do work putting that together and saying, well, what really are our gaps, and what potentially are priorities that might be considered in the future in terms of both infrastructure and policies. Secondly, there's obviously a lot of related type activities happening in the town. There's trails committees, there's accessibility committees, there's tourism, there's many other groups that are interested in this activity as well, and so it's important that we don't have overlap, it's important that we don't have gaps with those committees, and it's important that we're all pulling in the same direction as well, so there would be nothing worse than two committees trying to achieve opposite objectives. So we think that we can establish contacts with those groups and form some, make sure that we've got mutual objectives and that we're aligned. And finally, we think there's value in surveying the Uxbridge residents and actually finding out what they would like to see in terms of walking and biking and accessibility as well, which is a key subject, as was already mentioned, because of demographics of the town. In their neighbourhoods, and what do they see as barriers that would prevent them from getting out on their bikes, getting out on their feet, and getting out in mobility. Longer term goals, we would hope to see that the new council would approve a committee of council of active transportation. We think there's a critical need that we've already talked about. We think there's a need for an active transportation plan so that we pull together all of those different bits and pieces, some of which, as I say, I think are quite small and quite modest, but to actually go and achieve a network of active transportation facilities and infrastructure that the citizens can use. And programming as well. There's definitely an opportunity there to look at kind of programming activities that we could put out as well to promote active transportation. But really what it boils down to, it's really not about sidewalks or about curb cuts or about crosswalks or whatever. It's really about, as Trudy already told us, about creating a better community for our people to live in. And the sidewalks and the bike lanes and the curb cuts and whatever else are all necessary components to achieve that. But it's really about getting people out in the street, getting them using their own locomotion devices as opposed to being in cars, interacting with each other, spending money at local businesses. So that's really what this is about, kids riding to school, elderly folks being able to get out. So we've put a list of potential partners together here. I'm not going to read that. You can see all of those. If there's one's missing, then obviously we'd be happy to add to the list. And we will be, we have in some cases, and we will continue to reach out to these groups and see what common interests and objectives we have, as I said, to make sure there's no overlap and no areas that, or opportunities that we're missing. So that concludes our presentation. Very much appreciate your time and your indulgence in letting us come here today and talk to you. Also appreciate that we've met a number of you, both council, members of council and also staff, over the last few weeks while we've putting this together. We've got tremendous amount of input, and it's been very valuable to us. So we, again, appreciate your time, and thank you very much for having us here tonight. And
Well,
if there's any
thank you
questions.
to the three of you. I think you've met with most members of council, and there isn't anybody that isn't supportive. And I would like to suggest that we have now a few months that what we can do is spend those months developing the terms of reference for consideration for a committee of council on active transportation. So then the new council, when they come in as of December the 2nd or whatever, will have that to look at and consider. And many of the things that were discussed tonight have been discussed as part of the accessibility committee open house that we had. Catalina is the counselor. You just got demoted. The staff person on that committee, and I think there's a lot more that council can do to help them get around and make it a more pleasant place for them to get from point A to point B. We have a wonderful town, but that doesn't mean it's perfect by any means. So, council, I would like to maybe have a motion from someone that would direct staff to come up with terms of reference for a new committee of council, being known as the Active Transportation Committee, and to be presented prior to, hopefully prior to the June meeting or in early September. Councillor Bryan.
I will give you that motion, because we had a great meeting before, and I was glad you guys came in tonight, so I would certainly love to give you that motion.
Okay, I need a seconder first of all. Councillor Barton, questions?
Yeah, just a quick comment, and thank you so much. And yes, we have talked. We had a great conversation about this, and it's a great idea. And you know, we really aren't going on holidays for 7 months. We have 7 months before the next election, so I think we can get rolling on this even quicker. You know, so to do something in June and even get it ready to go over, get the committee set for the summer, and get some work done. We have a lot of time. We still have 7 months, so.
We have 7 months, but I would just consider, and I mean, it's up to council, but consider the fact that the person you might appoint would only be there for 2 or 3 months.
I suspect this committee's got plans to go ahead with or without a council member.
No, I'm talking. Yeah, and let me tell you, they'll be letting us know if we're not on the right track.
So.
And good for them. So yes, we can get this done, and get the committee set up, and then the new council is ready to go. Okay?
The committee does actually have a draft terms of reference, if that would be helpful to staff.
Okay, great.
Boy, didn't you come prepared?
Do you mind can you go back in your presentation to the 3 points?
Possibly.
Short-term goals, okay. Perhaps council may consider, between now and the election, focusing completely on the short-term goals.
Sure.
So appointing a group to work through the terms of reference, because I don't think it should maybe just be staff. I think we're going to need to sit with the community as well on developing those, and maybe try to achieve the outcomes of those 3 goals, and see what information you get from that, because that actually will help to really refine what the terms of reference are before the ad goes out with the new council. But it gives us a place to start. And if there's a group of people that understand that it's a short-term commitment, it's really about a committee that will define the terms of reference and focus on that, I think it will be really meaningful, because there's some good results that can come from gathering that information, I believe anyway. So maybe that would be the way to do it, as a point short-term between now and the election,
to focus on the terms of reference and to complete those short-term goals. This will be what the committee is, and then a reappointment of a committee with a new council. It may end up being all the same members, but you may end up getting some new members as a result of the refinement of the terms of reference.
So, in saying that, this is something that I don't think should be made tonight. It should be made at the next council meeting, if we can get everything in place.
Mayor O'Connor, yeah, so maybe if we can get this terms of reference, obviously they've been working on this already, get it sorted out for June, then we can get rolling from there.
Right.
Okay.
And then I would ask that councillors, please look at this, and if you're interested, to let staff know. Okay? Thank you very much, and thanks for all... Oh, sorry, we haven't voted? Oh. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. And we can, if you're interested, please let staff know, okay? And then we'll deal with it at the next council meeting. Can you send the, terms of reference that you have drafted to, Ingrid?
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
And, she'll look at it, review it, add to it, take away from it, whatever.
And I'll put together the, report, and then I will also put together a list of the councillors that are interested. And I don't think the goal will be to get 7 interested, just so you know.
Okay, again,
Great.
thank you very much for coming out and sharing that with us. This is an exciting new committee of council, and I think there can be lots of fun and achieving some very achievable milestones.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have to recess council now, please, because we have a public meeting that we have to listen to, and then we will come back into council. So the people in the audience, stay. It's it won't take us too long, I don't believe. I shouldn't say that because then it backfires, but yeah.
All right, I'm gonna call to order
Sorry,
the...
I better get, can I have a motion to recess, please?
Recess?
Councillor
Sure.
Barton and Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Carried.
We'll call to order the Planning and Economic Development Committee and ask if there's any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. There being none, this is a statutory public meeting which is being held pursuant to the Planning Act to consider an application by the Township, zoning bylaw amendment 2018-03. The purpose of this application is to amend the zoning bylaw to permit residential uses. The subject property is designated Hamlet in the Township Official Plan and Zone Community Facility Zone. The subject property is located on the east side of Front Street, north of Durham Region 47, having the municipal address of 4289 Front Street, and is legally described as part of Lot 17, Concession 3, Township of Uxbridge. The Planning Act governs the giving of public notice at various steps in the application process which the Township must comply with. Any person may attend a public meeting and make representations in response to the proposed development. All information, including personal information, opinions, presentations, reports, documentation, etc., provided for or at a public meeting are considered public records pursuant to Section 27 of the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This information may be posted on the Township of Uxbridge website and or made available to the public upon request. Questions about this collection should be directed to the Director of Legislative Services Clerk, Debbie LaRue, at 51 Toronto Street South, P.O. Box 190, Uxbridge, Ontario, L9P 1T1, or by phoning the Clerk's Department at 905-852-9181, extension 228. The Township often receives requests for notification above and beyond what is required by the Planning Act. The Clerk's Department does not have the resources to respond to these requests, especially where the requests are general in nature. Therefore, if a request for notification is received by the Clerk's Department, they will notify persons as required by the Planning Act. And in addition, persons will be notified of any council meeting at which it is proposed that a decision will be made by council on an active matter and no other notification will be given. The township has made available other ways in which residents may keep themselves aware of matters being considered by council. These include calling your ward councillor, checking the township website at www.town.uxbridge.on.ca, by reading committee and council agendas, which are available in the clerk's department at Town Hall, usually by no later than the Friday prior to a committee or council meeting, or by calling the clerk's department to inquire as to the status. Thank you for your understanding. Okay, any persons wishing to make oral or written submissions on the subject reports should give their names, addresses, postal codes to the clerk and ask their questions through me, the chair, or you can file a written submission as well. So who is presenting this? Debbie? Okay. Do you want to come forward, or do you want to do it from there? From there? Okay. So what we'll do, Debbie will give us a brief on what the scenario is here. We'll open it up to questions from committee, and then we'll open it up to questions from the public. Go ahead, Deb.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to reiterate, the purpose and proposed zoning for the bylaw amendment, the purpose of this application is to amend the zoning bylaw to permit residential uses. The subject property is designated currently Hamlet in the Township Official Plan and Zone Community Facility. The background is the hall has been declared surplus to the needs of the municipality, but the heritage designation will remain, or is proposed to remain, in place. Consideration is required to be given to the appropriate zoning on the property as a basis for the sale of the property. The subject lands are presently zoned to the south community facility zone and to the north Hamlet residential, exception number 27 or HR 27 zone. The CF zone permits a range of non-residential uses such as day nursery, auditorium, museum, nursing home, private club, and public or private school. It also permits a residential use which is ancillary to the permitted non-residential use and occupied by the owner, caretaker, watchman, or similar person and his family engaged in the main non-residential operation of the same lands. The purpose of the application is to amend the zoning bylaw to permit residential uses on the entire property. So.
Questions from committee? Dave, go ahead.
Just curious, how large is this parcel? It's hard to tell, like in terms of acres. Do we know that? Okay, fair enough.
Did you need an answer, I guess?
It seems to me when we had it appraised, Debbie, it was a little over 1 acre though, I think, a couple of years ago when we had it appraised. 1.4 or something like that, as I recall, so it's not that large.
I'm sorry, I don't have it with me, I'm not sure. I can find out.
Any other questions from committee? Just one, Deb, in your discussion you mentioned keeping the historical designation. Why would we do that versus removing it, or vice versa?
Because, well, I mean, it's a heritage building, and unless council directed otherwise, that's what when it's designated heritage under the Ontario Heritage Act, it's something that we normally leave in place unless there's some significant reason why we should remove it.
So if an offer was to come in on that property requesting that the designation be removed, we would then tackle it at that point, I guess?
Well, they'd have to have a pretty good reason as to why council should consider removing it. I mean, it was put in place for reasons, for protection on the building.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, it's council's decision if they wanted to remove it.
They could at that point. Okay. You guys have more questions?
Dad, if I could, councillors, it's a huge, huge undertaking to try and de-designate something.
Yeah.
Okay?
Just from my opinion, it would cater to a smaller group of people that want a historical property. Anyway, just a comment. Jack, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, does the railway have any effect on this property? Is there anything that stands out in the property dealing with the railroad?
We received comments back from Metrolinx a number of years ago, and they said basically because of the use, adding the residential, the fact that it's been there so long, so if there were no additions to the current building that would put the residential use closer to the tracks, then they didn't have any concerns with it.
Thank you. Councillor Barton, you have a question?
Yeah, just on the designation, what about this building needs to be protected? Is it the facade, is it, which parts are brought up in the designation?
I don't have the designation bylaw with me. I would suspect that it was because of the historic nature of the building, i.e. it was used as the original town hall, built in the late 1800s. I don't know necessarily that there's any architectural features that they wanted protected, but
Okay.
But that doesn't affect the zoning one way or the other.
Yeah, just as a comment, you know, from what we learned through the Pat McHugh's old house, there are some issues when it's just a broad designation. I spoke to an insurance agent over the last couple of weeks, and the issue is that if you're rebuilding the house to the exact way that it was built in the 1800s, it's very, very expensive. If we loosened the historical regulations on how it would have to be rebuilt, or how that the peaks were the same or whatever, it could save the future owners of this building significant funds when it came to as they're adding on to it or making changes, as well as insurance costs.
I think that's a discussion that we'll have to get into when we talk about Mr. Nice's property.
I agree.
Okay, any other questions from committee? No? Okay, we'll open it up to the floor. If you have any questions, you can either use the podium or come and sit at the front desk here. Anybody? Don't be shy. Will you just give us your name, address, and postal code for the record, please?
Just hit that button.
Just push the gray button there.
There you
yeah.
Okay. Betty Groff, 4209 Front Street in Goodwood. I'm 2 doors down, south of the property in question. I have a question on the terminology residential or like residential use or uses. Does that confine the property to one residential use, or does that allow for growth for more property or more homes on that one property? Because I saw it was said residential uses in brackets.
Debbie, you want to answer that?
I'd have to check into that. I don't know. I guess, I mean, it could look at whether or not now our zoning bylaw permits secondary dwelling units, so that type of thing. So I would suspect I'd have to look on the HR zone and see what it is permitted there.
Madam Clerk, it wouldn't accommodate, for instance, 4 or 5 houses by any means, but there could be two residents in one residence,
right,
to accommodate for, say, a parent or a child or whatever.
Correct.
But you won't see a little enclave of houses there because of the railway.
Okay. No, I was just concerned, excuse me, more from the water perspective. We're all on well water.
Right.
And if we had several homes going in that location, that could become an issue.
Sure.
And we don't want that. Also, the size because it's designated heritage, I don't think they can add on, or can they, to a property? And would the size, could it be limited, could the size be restricted? Because I've seen some monster homes go in town of Goodwood next to smaller homes, and aesthetically it sets the whole community off in the wrong way.
Through you, Mr. Chair, again, because of the proximity to the railway line, it would be very difficult to put anything substantial as far as an addition on that building, because you can't go anywhere to the north or really to the west. So anything that you'd be looking at adding on would be to the back. But again, it's a hamlet residential, so it'd be the idea being a single-family dwelling unit. But again, our zoning bylaw does permit now for, under certain circumstances, a secondary dwelling within the main residence.
Okay.
But certainly not multi-res or anything like that.
Cool. All right. No, just clarification is all you need. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Going once, going twice? Okay, I'm gonna give 7 days, for any written comments, so if there's something that you wake up at 2 tomorrow morning thinking, gee, I should have asked that question, just, send us the comments, and again, make that, to the clerk's department. Anyone who wants further notice of the passage of the bylaw should give their full name, address, and postal code to the clerk, tonight before leaving. And thank you, I will adjourn. Is there any other business? There being none, I will adjourn planning and pass it back to Mayor O'Connor.
Thank you very much. We will continue with our delegations. So we'll reconvene at, I can't see that clock. Thank you. Denis, you're here? Denis is here to talk to us tonight about the York-Durham Heritage Railway and his request for a road closure for Day Out with Thomas event between Wednesday, August the 8th and Tuesday, August the 21st.
Thank you, Your Worship. That sums it up very well. And that is the request to have a road closure. It's our 4th annual event for Thomas. And so far, every year we've had over 21,000 people, so we're just coming out onto 65,000 people have come in to visit Thomas and visit the beautiful town of Uxbridge. And we're hoping for the same success again this year. We're having 6 days of actual events as we've had in the past. We're jigging our site to make it even better for people coming to visit. But we think the benefit is not only good for York-Durham Heritage Railway, but also for the township because of the number of visitors who come into town, but also have a good eye on what happens in the town and the lovely sites to come and visit. And we hear throughout the season as people come back saying we were here at Thomas and we've come back to either ride the train again, but also to visit a number of establishments in the location. So for that reason, while it's beneficial for families who want to come out and see Thomas, I think there's a lot of advantages for the township as well. So for that, we'd look for your blessing to have, for a 4th year, the road closure along King Street in front of the station to approximately Railway Street and Albert Street.
Okay. First of all, it is a great event for Uxbridge Township, but this year could be a bit more challenging with road closure because we're going to have Brock Street closed off at that point in time for the culvert to go in, and there's no reason why we can't work it out because it's been a very good fundraiser for you, and certainly when you're here I want to thank you publicly for doing the cleanup around the yard and getting rid of a lot of the debris that had gathered over the years. It looks much better, and thank you to you and your team for doing that. Okay, so council, we don't have okay.
I'll make a motion, Mayor O'Connor, and I'd like to reiterate the same thing, that you've done a great job. Danny working out there, the yard looks great. Thank you so much for all the work you put into it, and thanks for everything else you do there. I'd like to make the motion to support that.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No problem. So, Denis, again, I love what you guys are doing. I like that you're working with the BIA for a number of the different events, the Christmas train and everything else. It's amazing. Just, especially this summer with the culvert construction going on, anything we can do to increase business for our downtown merchants would be fantastic. Can you meet with our BIA and maybe do some co-op work to bring some additional business, especially during those 2 weekends for those people?
Sure.
Can that be part of the motion?
What, to meet with the BIA?
Yeah, just to make sure that they're working with the BIA for
Well,
this.
they have worked.
Okay.
They have worked in the past very closely with BIA, but if you wish to have that put on, is that okay with the mover and the seconder? Okay, so we'll just add work cooperatively with, well, I don't need the word cooperatively, to work along with the BIA to make this a most successful event. Okay? All those in questions?
I was just going to say, sorry to jump in, absolutely with Councillor Hyatt and I sitting on the BIA, we know that they work very closely with the BIA and they have a great working relationship, so I don't even see that as an issue at all.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Carried. thanks very much for coming out, and again, thank you. Please pass it on to your membership. I know it wasn't an easy clean, because of the, certainly how much some of that material weighed and how long it had been there. But, it's really appreciated what you've done.
Thank you, and thank you for your support.
You're most welcome. Thank you. Jason Hicken, President of Bonner Boys, requests to use the Arena Ice and Community Center during the annual Bonner Boys hockey tournament on April 27th, 28th, and 29th. Okay.
They're laughing at me already, because they know I'm going to turn red, because I always do when I'm up here.
Well, I was trying to think of a line to make you turn red, so.
You don't even have to do, I'm probably turning red now, so. And I'll turn red. Hey everybody, Mayor and councilors, I'm Jason Hicken of the Bonner Boys. I'm the president, again, another year of the presidency. It's a great group of guys we have. Just gonna do what we're doing this year. You know that we're not doing Rib Fest, unfortunately. We were in here a couple months ago and kind of put that to the wayside and let the other organization take it over. I don't know where it went from for there, but good luck to them. I hope they are successful with it. Our hockey tournament is one of our biggest events that we do for making money to give back to the community. It's actually our biggest one. It was bigger than Rib Fest. It was bigger than, we still have our car show going on every Thursday, which is great, and we got a lot of support this year from all the shops in town and the banks. A lot of support, a lot of donations for that this year. They've come on board quite a bit more than previous years, which is great. I got the yellow Kids at Play signs made that were mandated to us for the driveway, so they're in my garage, so we'll be putting those up this year down the driveway.
Thank you.
No problem, just letting you know. But, yeah, and another thing we're thinking about doing is movies in the park. So it could be at the arena where we did the splash pad and we made that rock amphitheater that doesn't get used that often. So we thought maybe we'd incorporate that somehow into movie theaters. Like once a week, we have a partnership that's willing to come on board. We'll have to talk to you guys about that, if we can use like Elgin Park one time, maybe the arena, and maybe Bonner Field or something like that. We're thinking about doing one a month. So that's the next thing we're thinking of, just because we don't have Rib Fest going on. And we'll make some money off popcorn or pretzels or chips or something like that. But why I'm here is our annual hockey tournament's coming up, and we're really excited about it again. The new smokehouse has come on board for our food, as Clem's is no longer in town, so they were our staple, wings. You know, everybody loves wings after a hockey game. I don't know why, but I do.
Do you want me to explain it to you?
No, I do. So they've come on board for the food, and I just want to ask again, if I could, if we could have the ice rental again this year and the hall for our tournament. And like I said, all the money goes back to the community that we make, and every bit helps.
Thanks, Jason. Certainly, you, as a member of the Bonner Boys, all the team, meaning Bonner Boys team, have worked so hard and have raised countless thousands of dollars for our community, which we are so thankful for. And the hockey tournament support, our main support for fundraising, is a given this year. Although I must say, with the change in minor hockey, and I'm just throwing this out here for your
I know about it.
that maybe next year this time frame will not fit into the schedule.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying. Like, we didn't know this year. No, I don't think anybody knew this year.
No.
We could move it up a week easily, right? So, and that we can't now, but I mean,
yeah,
we could have, but I don't think the direction was there that this was going to happen.
It came to all of us as a as a huge blow.
Now the ice is in for a longer period of time.
So next year, I would converse with Bob early in the season, so that you know in fact, when our ice is gonna go. And the date, I'm sure, will be put forward, from the end of April. So, I need a motion, please, to,
Okay.
allow the,
I think we also have to declare this a municipally significant event for your liquor permit, so we should add that as well.
Okay.
and I think that
You
what
can
we
make
need.
it, Jack, I just wanted to make that point,
But
that's all.
just a minute, I think what we need to do too is that we should we should also restate our decision to give them ice time. Okay, so. Right, okay, so, can you just read your motion then, please?
The motion is that the Bonner Boys, and you've confirmed the dates with Arena, have the dates that they've requested at the same as last year. And we also support them with the letter as deeming this as a significant event, so they have no problems getting their liquor license.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Bryan, all the.
Thank you.
Thank you. God, you only got red once. Okay, our next deputation, and we're pretty close to being on time, is Jessica Morrison and Joshua Morrison regarding the Young Life North Durham Gala in 2018, and you might recognize these two young folks. Josh is the young man that came forward 5 years ago, and said that he was going to raise $100,000 in pennies for a new Habitat for Humanity home. And everybody looked at him and thought, well, that's a young man's talking. He has no idea. Well, guess what? The house is being built. Is it finished?
No, we haven't started yet. It's
Oh, I thought the foundation and stuff had started.
We're supposed to break ground in April.
Okay, sorry. But anyway, guess what? Josh raised more than $100,000, and there's going to be a lucky family moving into this beautiful new home in the near future. And with them we have his sister, Jessica, who was a major supporter behind him. In fact, the whole family is pretty phenomenal when it comes to doing good for the community. So we welcome you both.
Thank you. Well, now I don't even need to introduce him, so it's perfect. So my name's Jessica Morrison, and I'm the Area Director for Young Life North Durham. And so some of you may have heard of Young Life before. I imagine a lot of you haven't also. So Young Life is a worldwide nonprofit organization. We're in over 99 countries around the world, and it started in 1941. So we've been around for a while. And so it's an organization for teenagers. So we have weekly meetings where teenagers just get to leave the chaos of their life and just come and be themselves. And we also have a wildlife program for junior high kids, so grades 6, 7, and 8. And then we have our high school program as well. So why Young Life is important is because kids that age, they don't necessarily want to talk to their parents about everything that's going on. And so Young Life leaders will step into the world of teenagers and kids and be that person that they can trust and that can give healthy adult feedback and advice on the things that are going on. And so, see, you and Young Life, we have a lot in common. We both care about the future of our town. So I grew up here. I had some of my best moments here and some of my worst ones as well. And so I really love Uxbridge, and I know that you guys all love Uxbridge, or else you wouldn't be here. And so at the same time, we've all been kind of discouraged if we walk the streets and see the graffiti on the statues or street signs that have been torn down, and we just think like, ugh, teenagers, like what are we going to do with them? But I know I look like I'm 16. I'm 23, so I haven't been out of that age gap for too long, but but those kids that are doing those things, those are all kids that I know and I love. And those are the kids that I work with sometimes too. And I know that that's a scary thought, but an even scarier thought is that those kids are going to be Uxbridges tomorrow. And so those are the kids that in 10, 20, 30, however many years are going to be sitting in these chairs and making the decisions. And so why wouldn't we want to take this opportunity to call out those leadership skills in them and help change the culture of the teenage world right now? But a lot of those things happen, the graffiti and stuff like that, because they actually don't have a caring adult to step into their life and show them that they have worth. And a lot of them just don't know any better. They haven't had anybody to tell them not to. So there was a study done in the 80s, and it showed that the people that teenagers went to for advice, the top two groups of people were parents and teachers. There was a recent study done, and it shows that most of the people actually go to peers and the media. So of course, things like graffiti and vandalism, of course those are going to happen because they no longer trust adults as much as they did, and they're going to the wrong people. So Young Life leaders want to step into the world of kids and bridge the gap between us and them. And so I think we all want to create a really awesome community of trust and just to bridge that gap. So one of the reasons why I personally do Young Life, and all Young Life leaders will have a story like this, but one story that I hold very close to my heart is a couple months ago. So I just took this job in September, and at the end of September, I got a phone call that one of my girls had tried to end her life. And so I was in Markham when I got the phone call, and she was in the Uxbridge Hospital, and I got in my car and I had the opportunity to spend the entire night sleeping on a hospital floor, which is not comfortable, I promise you. But the thing is, like, I would do that over and over again because I got to sit with her and tell her that she has potential and that there's more to her story and that her life actually didn't end there and that she gets to take this and do something about it. And I see the potential in all of these kids. And see, the kids that we will look at in town and go like, oh, well, I guess they're not up to any good. Those kids aren't really the high risk or at-risk kids right now. So there's about 10% of the population that is at risk. And there's a lot of really great organizations that are working with those kids. And there's about 10% of the kids that are at the opposite end, and there's also a lot of really great organizations working with those kids, whether or not they're plugged into a church or raising $100,000 in pennies. But there's about 80% of kids in the middle that nobody's working with, just your average, everyday kids, and those are kids that are confused, they're lost, and they just don't have anywhere to turn to, and that's who Young Life is for. We have kids, obviously, in both of those 10 outside percentages, and Young Life is just as much for them. We focus on the everyday teenager that just has maybe lost their way and no one's noticed. So I'm going to call up Josh. He has a very real kind of experience with this because he actually is a Young Life kid. So he's going to tell you a little bit more about that.
Hello. So, I have been going to Young Life for about 2.5 years now. I started in grade 9, and I did not want to go at all because I wasn't outgoing, and I had my little shell of Josh. And my sister here, who was a volunteer leader at the time, made me go. And I ended up loving it. I cannot believe how much it has changed me, but also my friends and everyone who goes. And I would not be who I am today if it were not for Young Life. And the thing that amazes me most about Young Life is the immense love and unity that you see in the weekly gatherings and between the leaders and the kids and all the other kids. It's like a web that connects them all with love. When I go to Young Life, I see teenagers from all the social rankings. You see the kids come in the door. There's the popular kids, there's the nerds, there's the goody two-shoes, and in come the druggies as well. And they're all together dancing and laughing and having a great time on Tuesday nights. My friends have made friends with people that I would never imagine they would make friends with. Like, it doesn't happen like that at school. It's something like social rankings at Young Life are not nearly as clear and evident as they are in the schools, but love is extremely evident in Young Life. And it has taught me how to be a better person, and something I've struggled with is being judgmental. And going to Young Life has continued to teach me that every teenager is loved and has a purpose and plan for their life, no matter how messed up their past is. And that has been leading me in a good direction and everything. And to be honest, the passion that I have for the mission of Young Life far exceeds the passion that helped me raise $125,000 in pennies to build a home. Young Life is an essential element in this town, and I really, really want to see it thrive.
All right, thanks, Josh. So now I want to extend the opportunity to you guys to take part in this. It's a really, really great organization. I'm not just saying that because I work there, but I really stand by what's happening. And so I want to invite everybody to our North Durham annual gala. So it's our big fundraiser for the year, and we switch towns every year in between Port Perry and Uxbridge, and so this year it is in Port Perry. It's at Trinity Grace Academy, and the tickets are $10. But I want to challenge you guys to come out and see what we're doing and see the things that are happening in the community, and if you're feeling really ambitious, you could even buy a whole table and bring other people that you think might benefit from this experience. And so, yeah, I don't know if you want me to leave some of these or my business cards. Where can I?
And we'll certainly have a discussion about it, Jessica, Jessica and Josh. I was there last year, and it was an amazing evening. You know, it's, what's the date of it again?
It's April 14th.
Okay, so it's fast approaching. So I'm going to ask all the councillors to please check their schedules that night. I think that probably we'll buy a table.
Okay.
And we can all go and support you. You know, some days when you turn on the radio or the television's probably more appropriate today and see the horrors that are going on in the world. And you think, oh, what's the world coming to? But you know what? After listening to two of you tonight, I know the world's going to be in good hands with people like you as the next generation. So thank you for all you're doing. And we will be there, as many of us as possible, to support this very worthwhile organization. And we'll be proud to be there and see what you're doing and to mingle with the youth.
All right. Well, thank you, and thank you, everyone, for your time. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Councillor Malone.
I just wanted to add, too, I was also there last year at the gala, and it was
Oh,
fantastic. Yeah, you had a great night, met some great kids. It was a wonderful night, and I think the councillors like yourself have obviously done a fantastic job there. So I know Gary and I were both really impressed when we left there, so way to go. Keep it up.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll see you again this year.
Perfect.
Okay. Councillor Ballinger.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for your presentation. Brought back a lot of good memories. As a 23-year-old, finished school, I went to St. John's Training School as a recreation director under the direction of the Christian Brothers. And what you said tonight about youth, they had a motto, It was, every youth has a need and a right to understanding. And you sum that up in the job you're doing. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. If you would like to, just give them to, the clerk, Debbie, and she will make sure that we get them all in our mailbox.
Okay, perfect. I'll give you some of my contact
Oh,
info.
sorry. Oh,
Here you go.
Okay.
I grew up going to Uxbridge Baptist Church Youth Group. Most of my really close friends are still from there. A bunch of my close friends are leaders there, and it's a similar group to what you guys have at Young Life. And anyway, the difference that you make as a youth leader, when I look back at the leaders that we had, made a huge difference in all of our lives. So keep us up the great work.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you for the encouragement.
Councillor Hyatt.
Thank you, folks. You're gone. You can't leave yet. I'm just checking my calendar here, and unfortunately, I can't attend because I'm picking up my youth at Queen's University and bringing her home, so. But thank you for the invitation, but I'll certainly support your cause. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want a 5-minute break, or are you ready to continue? 5 minutes? Okay. All right. We'll break for 5 minutes. Do we need 8? We don't need 8. Oh, 8 at a table. Yeah, but we don't need 8 invitations. Oh, okay. Yeah, we do need them. Thank you, Jessica. Huh.
But we have to pay.
Yeah. We'll put it through the bus tournament, or anybody can give $10. Surely to go.
But I just, we gotta somehow make sure that we get our money.
Jessica, we'll give you the money that night. Okay. Is that okay? Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Catalina. Glad she didn't put those on the agenda. Where were they sitting? Just on her desk? The times on there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she's pointing at the public meeting, she's pointing at this, and I'm saying, they're aware.
Yeah.
I know.
approval of the, regular council meeting of February 26th. The minutes, please. Councillor Beach and Councillor Hyatt. All those in favor? Carried. Correspondence.
Correspondence number 24, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, RE Main Street Revitalization Funding Update.
Can I, suggest that there was a couple things that, what was it called that we did? When they had, when the people came and looked at our town. First impressions, thank you. We did the first impressions, and two of the items on that was proper signage for the municipal offices and bike racks. So, can we knock those two things off and put the money towards those, two items, from the grant that we received for Main Street? Councillor Barton.
Just with the bike racks, if we do get the OMCC funding, like if that comes available, that also covers bike racks at 80%, so then I think we'd be best to use this funding somewhere else.
Well,
but if it's not gonna, if it doesn't turn on before the provincial election, and whichever way it goes, then we may wanna just
I'm
use
sure
this
there's
money.
gonna be a lot of locations we can use bike racks at. So this would be a start. I'm
Okay.
not saying that, I mean, if you look at, we could use them at the arena because of all the, traffic in the spring and in the fall, or even in the summer when the cross and that sort of thing going on. We could put it, we could use some, at our other facilities, but we could use them also for the downtown core. So it's just not that we're looking at one place, but we're looking at several places, and I think that this would help us achieve our goal to make sure that people had proper bike racks, could secure their bike, and know that when they finished doing whatever they're doing, their bike was going to be there. Okay, so can we, sorry. Uh-huh.
It says in the report that we're supposed to enter an agreement, so the agreement's supposed to be what we're gonna spend our money on. It's kind of all backwards, isn't it? So they sent us the money
yeah.
without an agreement?
Well, listen, be thankful we got the
listen,
money.
I'm happy we have it, but it does suggest that we do have to enter into an agreement, I presume, and our agreement's gonna say what, like the gas tax, gonna say exactly what we did with the money?
Yeah.
So it's more like a report of how we spent the money
Yeah.
as opposed to an
So
agreement, is that
what
right?
we need is a report back,
Okay.
To staff, ask them to do a report, and, then we'll, get on with it, okay? So can I have that motion, Councillor Barton and Councillor, Bryan? All those in favor? Carried.
Correspondence number 25, Minister of Seniors Affairs, RE 2018 Senior of the Year Award nominations.
You know, there's so many people that could, fit into this category. So would you please, if you have any suggestions, bring them to Catalina or Debbie's attention. And, also I would like a copy of this, to go to the seniors themselves, because there might be a person that we're not aware of, that would fit the category. So we, ask that you please provide, staff with the name and an outline as to why you feel that person should, be awarded this awarded this award. That doesn't make much sense, but Councillor
Would it be
Moore.
possible to send, I know it's maybe a big task to send this to our local churches, 'cause I mean, that's where a lot of these seniors are working their butts off, quite frankly, in a lot of these local churches. I don't know, is that too big of a task? There's like 18 of them, but,
Pardon me?
oh, that's a good idea.
Put it on the township page
Great,
as
great.
well. That would be great. Okay, so can somebody make that motion? Councillor, Barton and Councillor Hyatt, all those in favor? Carried.
Correspondence number 26, Ontario Community Environment Fund, RE funding available to the Ontario Community Environment Fund to help restore and protect eligible watersheds.
Well, it's not much money, that's for sure, but let's refer it to the Watershed Committee. Councillor Barton?
Yeah, I think the watershed committee would be a good idea. The other thing is, with the Wagners Lake water, quality issues, this could be a good, we need a significant chunk of money to do some testing there that, the LSRCA can do with a bit of funding. So let's send it
Okay.
to the watershed committee and we'll see if they can come back with
Sure.
this type of information. We have a meeting, tomorrow night, actually, so.
Okay,
good
so
luck.
we'll move it to go to the Watershed Committee, moved by Councillor Barton, seconded by Councillor, Malloy. All those in favor? Carried.
Correspondence number 27, Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, RE comments on draft agricultural impact assessment guidance document.
Okay, just so for your information, copies have been sent to the Agriculture Committee, and DAC is also dealing with it at the region. That's the Durham Agriculture Advisory Committee. So I think that what we could do is maybe just receive this for information. We're meeting, yes, Ingrid and I are meeting with the committee on this, okay? Okay, seconded by Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Carried.
28, Jim TC, ACOM, RE Foxbridge Residential Plan of Condominium, Letter of Credit Reduction.
Okay, there is a recommendation there on page 23. Councillor
Mayor
Malloy?
O'Connor, there's just one question, they asked, which kind of surprised me, for us to make sure that they're all paid up, so I'm assuming they are.
Yeah, I would, well, I
There's
can't
no one
imagine
asked, and I know,
Donna isn't going to release any
no,
money.
I just thought it was very strange that they would ask, that's all. But I'll make that motion.
I asked for it to be on the agenda because I really think that it needs to be a decision of council, and then it will go back to Donna in regards to what we're gonna do. And if you understand what it really is saying, is that the understanding is it would be fencing around where the new development abuts the old development house to house, and not fencing along that long strip, which is just an emergency entrance. Nobody goes up and down that strip. Probably more cars went up and down it when Foxbridge was open than they do now, because it's gated and you can't drive out. And so that's the issue. And somebody in there feels that it should be, I should get a fence replacement. Our feeling is, you know, that it may be a bit vague in the wording, but there really that because of, as a result of the development, if I was to say one thing, it's probably less impact because there isn't the cars using that driveway anymore.
Well, it's far less.
Zero.
Okay, so you want this then, that this recommendation by ACOM go to Donna Condon, our township treasurer, for her comments and to report back to council, because she'll come back with a report.
She'll come back with it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, all those in favor? Carried.
29, Shelley Macbeth, Blue Heron Books RE request to declare the Springtide Music Festival event on April 20th to 22nd, 2018, a municipally significant event.
Okay. Councillor Barton, Councillor Bryan. Support it?
Yeah, I was gonna make that motion because it's in my ward, so. That's okay. Yeah, but I would
Well,
certainly
it's
do that.
actually in your ward and Gord Hyatt's ward.
Well, this particular location, that was my ward.
Yeah, but it's for a downtown
Yeah, absolutely.
thing.
I think it's gonna be a wonderful event.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I do too. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder to support the request that it's a municipal significant event. All those in favor? Carried. Did you have a question?
One question, I guess, to the clerk. Does each venue have to be
Yeah.
rated like that? Does it?
We couldn't call the whole event
We couldn't just do like Springtide as a municipal?
municipally significant event?
We will do
I'm
that.
just worried that they add more venues and they're not in the group, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know how we handle that. I just don't want anybody
Well-
getting their toes stepped on, that's all, so.
Through your worship, I think the challenge is because if it was just one large, say, beer garden downtown or licensed event downtown where it's tented, it's fenced, all that, so we could declare that as a municipally significant event. The challenge with this is there's all different venues. And I think we err on the side of caution first time around. Alcohol and Gaming has already slapped us a couple times about our wording and everything like that. Instead of saying it's a municipally significant event, that we're not saying we have no objection. So they're really clamping down, so I'd rather be safe than sorry, and especially when the time is ticking on here.
So how do you want us to deal with this? Individually?
Yeah, so it would be individually, in this particular case, it would be for their particular venue. So it's just, we have no objection, but we'll council's in support of it.
Okay.
Is the
And
spring,
it's for the Blue Heron.
is the Springtide group aware that each of their venues has to be,
That's what I was gonna say, maybe we can
Approved.
send an email out to them. I can send one out to Joanne and to Tanya and,
Yeah.
let them know that they need to reach out to their group.
I think that would be a
That's
good
awesome.
idea.
I'll send them an email
They
tomorrow
don't
and
wanna
let
be
them know all the,
hanging the day out, you know?
because we're gonna be off next Monday, right? So we wanna make sure that everybody's aware of this. We'll go from there, so I'll send that off tomorrow.
Okay. Councillor Burton?
Yeah, just on that, the same train of thought, I forget when the dates are, but do we have time? Oh, yeah, so we're good then, okay.
Yeah.
Just wanna make sure, 'cause the Second Wedge are doing a big outdoor concert. And if they're tenting an area or fencing in an area that's outside their property lines, we may have to do another one, so, okay.
Okay.
But we have time.
All right, so we have a motion. All those in favor? Carried.
Correspondence number 30, Captain Robert J. Evans, 76 Uxbridge Royal Canadian Army Cadet. RE request to host a vigil at the Cenotaph to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Vimy Ridge on April 9th, 2018, from 6:30 p.m. to 11 p.m.
I think this is a wonderful thing, and certainly support it. Jack?
I'll give you a motion to support. I just, last year when they had it, I found when I got there, I was just standing around, and so it looks like they're more organized this year from what I pick up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's great.
Okay. Okay. Seconded by Pam. All those in favor? Carried.
Correspondence number 31, Carly McDougall, RE request to host the 2018 Uxbridge Defeat Depression Walk for Mental Health on June 10th, 2018 at the Uxbridge Countryside Preserve.
So, Uxbridge Council supports the walk. I think should be the motion. However, I think a letter has to be referred to Bob Ferguson and Amanda Ferrero for any input and dialogue with the event organizer. Okay. Yep.
In the past, the group has not had insurance. Is this still the case? And they would go under the township's insurance?
Well, anybody that walks in there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's just, it's an organized event, and generally we would request insurance, but council has the ability to waive that requirement.
Okay. Okay, so we're waiving the insurance, and that, we support the walk, and that, Bob and Amanda be in contact with the event organizer. Okay? Who's making the motion? Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Carry.
Correspondence number 32, Oak Ridge Outreach, Ripple Effect 1, Ripple Effect 2, Trinity United Church, RE update on Syrian refugees, sponsored by the Township of Uxbridge.
Nice letter. Great letter.
I watched two of those kids playing hockey on, Sunday morning. Saturday
Yeah.
morning, yeah. It
Yeah.
was kinda cool.
It is. Okay, so we just, I think we just receive it for information. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, I need a seconder. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Who moved it? Councillor Malloy.
Correspondence number 33, Andrew Stanley, RE request to use Uxbridge Community Center as a location for potential film shoot on May 4th, 2018.
Okay, so this is on the agenda, and, was this the one I read that,
This is about the film.
yeah.
He wants this basically free.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry, it's a Friday, but, you know, I think what we should do is refer it to staff, which would be, Bob Ferguson, but, or Karen. But it's Bob that's going to have to make the decision. You're saying they're asking for it to be free?
I thought that's what I saw in there.
It says we have a no budget.
No budget,
Yeah.
that's free.
Yeah. Yeah. So, does anybody have a problem with this? I think we have to be. So, refer it to, as I said, to staff, and ask them to, inform council. We don't have to give them permission, that, all that can be done through Bob, and just, let us know what his decision is. I would just like staff, though, to be careful that, you know, some other youth might come in and say they want to use it. So we have to be careful what we're doing here. Thank you. Councillor Barton.
Yeah, I would second it. Just, I think they should have their own insurance. We just have no idea what this movie's about or what the script is. And
Well, I
sometimes
think-
filming is dangerous.
And I think that our staff here can relay that back to Bob, that, you know what, if they're letting off smoke bombs or whatever they might be doing in this motion, we might need,
Well, they should have insurance.
they should have insurance, okay? All right. All those in favor? Carrie, yeah, Dave.
Correspondence number 34, Brittany and Carol Cosgrove, Wine Kits, RE, request to declare their hosting of a portion of the Springtide Music Festival at Wine Kits on April 21st and April 22nd, a municipally significant event.
Okay, they have, put in for, special permit from Alcohol and Gaming Commission. How does council want to deal with this? Councillor Hyatt and then
Yeah,
Councillor...
I'll support it and give them the municipal significance letter.
Okay.
I don't know what else we need from staff. Is that adequate? Yeah, okay.
And Councillor
Carbon copy
Bryan.
of the one we just gave out.
Yeah. All those in favor? Carried.
Correspondence number 35, Robert McDonald, RE, Uxbridge Parks Master Plan.
Well, I just want to say that, I'm gonna say a lot. I did put a motion, in front of you that, Skugog passed, oh, sorry, I'm on Catalina, sorry. I don't have a,
It was
The one I sent out last week.
oh, okay, we have two pieces of correspondence, sorry, that was walked on. And that was to do with the Parks Master Plan, so can we receive both of those?
I'd like to make a comment first,
Yes.
Mayor Connor. Mayor Connor, I don't want to receive the letter from Mr. McDonald. I prefer that we respond to him by saying when he can send in a letter that's more polite without making accusations that are completely unfounded, we'd consider receiving his letter. Other than that, I would refuse to receive his letter. He's making statements in here that are totally outrageous, and I don't think we should give credibility to it. So I would like to make a motion that the clerk respond and tell him when he can put a letter together with some facts, instead of innuendo and a bunch of other ridiculous comments. We might consider receiving it.
Well, can I suggest that maybe that doesn't come from the clerk, that it comes from the councillor or myself?
Right, that's,
Okay?
Debbie had just said to me that we had to act on it to some extent.
Yeah.
I'd like to receive the letter, but I have no qualms about speaking to this man at all. I would rather do it person to person. Just receive the letter, and I will definitely speak to him.
Well, but I think there has to be documentation. If you could speak to him, that's great, but I think there has to be documentation that, we have responded to this, and it's a very inappropriate letter. So, okay, so let's receive Dana Houston's letter. Okay, do I have a mover and a seconder? Okay, so we've got, Jack and, Fred. Okay, all those in favor? Carry. Okay, with Robert McDonald's letter, that, Councillor Jack Ballinger, or Regional Councillor Jack Ballinger, will respond to him in person, and the mayor will respond in writing. Okay? All those in favor? Carried. Now, where are we? Pardon?
Committee minutes.
Where's the,
Because
But
we
don't-
have the agenda.
report to committee, okay. Okay, so we have reports, to committee, which, the first one is Catalina's, regarding the, allocation of Durham District School Board trustees. That's the one that I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking about. You have before you a copy of the notice of motion that Councillor Drew was prepared to and will be putting forth to her council in Scugog. And the Council Brock met this morning sorry. And they passed a very similar motion. For the life of me, how a school board can take away a person and not have the common decency, or a trustee take away a trustee, decide that one trustee will do for the 3 northern municipalities, when the area size-wise represents 3 times what the South does, have no dialogue with the councils in those particular areas, and just suggest that we should be accepting it. Well, let me tell you, that is not what you call public information. They said that there was something on the on their what do you call it? Not Facebook, their web page. I didn't see anything about it. Mind you, I don't go looking for these things either. But how hard is it for them to write a letter to 3 municipal councillors saying, we are considering this action and we would like your input? Our input would be to go back to the residents of Uxbridge, say we are discussing this and we would like to hear your input. To suggest that one trustee can look after an area this size and get paid the same amount of money that the people do in the South, where they can get on a bus that's subsidized by us in the North, by the way, and reach all the school that they might have to go to. I am furious that they have this attitude that doesn't matter what anybody else wants, they know better. Where's the public input? The very people that are paying their salaries have had no input into this decision. And I think that's terrible. So I think that what we should do is basically support the motion that's before us and say that we want a meeting with the school trustees as soon as possible in Uxbridge Township Council chambers. And let's see what their reaction is. The last time I went down to their chambers, I had the trustee from Whitby tell me the weather in Whitby is every bit as bad as the weather in Uxbridge, up north of Highway 7. They have no idea. And I'm sure if I said go to Cannington School or go to the Beaverton School, they wouldn't know where they're going. If I said go to Joseph Gould, they'd be lost. This sort of thing speaks terrible about elected representatives who are trying to do the best job they can. But again, we have one voice. What voice do we have against the rest of them down there? I could go on for another hour, but I'll shut up. Just first of all, Deb, if you want to go ahead, and then I'll ask Councillor Ballinger to.
Just as a point, it was just by fluke we even heard about this. So we've gone ahead and we've started our advertising for the election. On last Wednesday, we met with the North Durham clerks to do some interviews for our compliance audit committee, and one of the clerks mentioned that he had heard via someone else about this. So they sent an email, and actually there was something came from the deputy clerk today from Whitby inquiring to the school board about it, and was told by the superintendent that there was going to be correspondence coming to not only Whitby, because they're affected, but the northern municipalities. So that was supposed to be sometime today. So then I received an email this afternoon, or at 7:35 tonight from the deputy from Whitby with the letter from the trustees, or about the trustee change, and I looked at the letter, I'm copied on it, but I'm still waiting for my version to come to us. And I sent an email back to the clerk from Brock and the clerk from Scugog, and they too are still waiting for their version. So it did go to Whitby, but we're still waiting for our copies to come. So I'm not sure when we'll get them, but anyway, just as a note.
They don't give a damn.
It takes a while to get from there.
Yeah, well, you know what? The people people on Taunton Road or Roslyn Road have a hard time knowing where Uxbridge, Brock, and Scugog are. It makes me sick to my stomach. Anyway, yes.
I read through this, and I can't say I was a very happy camper, but you know, after going through 6 months of, how the regional council, the composition of it, and talking on it, and thinking we may lose the 3 North councillors, and we didn't. I want to, at least in the letter that might go to them, recognize the other 2 people that voted, because that vote is 7-4, which means the 2 northern people voted for it. There's 2 people from the south that had to vote for it too. And I think, you know what, they should be recognized just in a way, you know what, we thank the 4 people that voted to retain. If I was sitting there and I had voted in favor of retaining the North, and I lived in Whitby or Oshawa or Pickering, you know, at least when it comes through, somebody's recognized, you know what, because 2 more votes, it would have been a 6-5 vote. I don't know how much lobbying went on, but I like to recognize the other 2 people that were involved there.
You know what, and that's a very good point. We did have 2 trustees support us.
Yes.
But my whole thing is with the board. Without any correspondence, without any dialogue whatsoever, and then expect us to swallow the pill.
No, I agree
Well,
with you.
it'll be some day before I'll swallow that pill. Councillor Burton.
Yeah, and I don't have the results, I couldn't find them quickly, but they did a survey of residents, and it was overwhelming to keep the 2 northern
Correct.
trustees.
That's exactly
It was
right.
like it was something like 265 people voted, and 220 voted.
I saw that. Yeah.
Oh, it's in there?
Yeah, it's in
Okay.
there. It's
So I
in
knew
there.
I'd read it, I just didn't.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they didn't, but again, why do a survey if you're not gonna listen to the people that
Exactly.
do it?
Exactly.
Oh. Okay, calm down.
All right, you cooled down now.
You know, if we did that, we'd be hung at the
I
4
know.
corners.
Yeah.
And we should be. So why are they gonna get away with it?
Yeah.
And I would like to know why the Minister of Education, without having any input, said, no, we don't support that, putting another trustee on. If Whitby needs 1 more, and obviously Whitby Council didn't know that this was going on either, if they needed 1 more councillor, or 1 more trustee, I'm fine with that. But don't take it away from somebody that has 3 times the area to cover and expect them to do the same job.
But their policy is representation by population, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what they did.
It's not ours. Okay, now I've got that off my chest. So, do you support basically this recommendation to go to them, and that it be followed through with a letter? Okay? A letter stating that we would request that they council, and that's all we need to say at this point. But to also thank, we'll try and find out who those other 2 were, and I will write them a personal note of thanks, to who supported us. We can just phone up Gord Baxter, and I'm sure he'd be able to tell us.
I asked Mayor O'Connor, has Scugog adopted this resolution, or is it just a draft by Bobby Drew?
No, this was a notice of motion. but Brock did, because they are not in council today,
Okay,
Brock has adopted,
they have, okay.
yeah,
I just wondered if, is it just a draft idea, or has it actually been approved by somebody?
yeah.
So Mayor O'Connor, I'd make a motion to, move the recommendation on report CL 1818 to Catalina,
And change the wording?
and then, provide to, the Durham District School Board our version of the, notice of motion.
Okay, so our version will be more to us, and it will, it'll probably be a wee bit stronger, but I just wanted to make sure that we got this, before us tonight, because there is a time element on it. Okay? Okay, so we have a motion that's been moved and seconded by Pat and, Pam. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, committee reports. We have, CL 1918, Debbie LaRue, regarding mechanical work chiller replacement, Town Hall. Here we thought I thought, wow, we're in good shape here. We are. Seconded by Councillor Barton. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, bylaws, 2018-030 to, sorry?
Just the committee reports, the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, committee minutes. You have the report 3 of finance, 5 of planning and economic, 6 of general purpose, and 7 of general purpose. Move the reports by Councillor, Barton, seconded by Councillor Hyatt. All those in favor? Carried. Was it your hand or Pam's hand? Oh, Pam. Okay, it was Pam that put her hand up, not...
Yeah, probably.
Okay, bylaws 030 through to 037.
Mayor O'Connor, could I just ask a quick question on one of them?
Yeah.
The one relating to, I think the, Jessica Pratt one. Is that a new employee, or is that just a replacement employee?
Which one are you on?
That's, 031,
To
the
replace
bylaw officer?
So,
Matt Lee.
Just
through your
replacing
worship,
someone that's already there? Great, thank you. What did you say, Debbie? Okay.
Questions? No? We're good? Okay, moved by Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Beach, that leave be granted to introduce bylaws number 2018-030 to 2018-037, and the same be read a first and second time.
All those in favor of first, second reading? Carried. Any questions? Third reading be granted.
Moved by Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Beach, that bylaws number 2018-030 to 2018-037 be now read a third time, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk duly sign and seal same.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Unfinished business. We need to pass a, motion, allowing, Wixon's and the township parking lot to be closed for the Sam Sharp event.
We never did.
We haven't done it. We talked about it, but there wasn't a motion put through. Yeah. Okay, so we'll do the two town ones, Councillor, Bryan and Councillor Hyatt. All those in favor? Carried. Yes.
I've got another other business. This is the item from Maggie McCreath. This is for her Operation Warm Hearts annual coat sale.
Yeah.
We agreed to give her the hall,
Yeah.
but last year, in her letter to us, she also asked for the insurance expenses. We did that last year. Last year, we paid her insurance out of the golf fund. And that's what she requested this time. But we didn't do it.
$6, it's not very much.
No,
How much
it's
is it?
$53 or something, or 56.
Oh, okay. All right, so we need a motion then that we, pay for the insurance for the, what's it called? Coat? Pardon me? Yeah. Okay, so we should refer it to the golf
Do
committee.
you want me to give that, or do you want to? I'll make a motion that we send this request to the golf committee.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, press. Get my heart back in my body here.
Thank you, Mayor. On the presentation for the active transportation, I was wondering, could Ms. LaRue tell me what was the motion that was made at the end of that presentation? Because you were talking about delaying a special committee until the next council.
Refer
I didn't hear the motion, though.
Okay. Do you have the staff?
Yep. So that staff worked together with Susan, Trudy, and Phil to create a terms of reference for an active transportation committee of council to be considered by June 2018, and that the 3 short-term goals be accomplished, and that this request be referred to staff.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Catalina.
Okay.
If you could back away from the mic a little bit.
Here, I'll read it for you. I was gonna ad lib it, but I won't. Oh. Okay, that's... Okay. That staff work together with Suzanne, Trudy, and Phil, and you can fill in their last names, okay, to create transportation terms of reference for an active transportation committee of council to be considered by June 2018. This doesn't make sense. Okay, so we know what we meant here. So the motion was for an active transportation committee of council be referred to staff for terms of reference to report back to council, and that the 3 people, okay, present their what they see as the 3-term goals to be accomplished.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. And when we would...
We're missing something else, the other part. So they're basically gonna send me the draft terms of reference. That's what they've already got produced. They're gonna send that to me. I'm gonna take a look at those draft terms of reference and bring something back to council in June.
Yeah.
Council members are all supposed to get in touch with me and let me know if they are interested in participating on that committee, and that will be part of my report to council as well, indicating who on council would like to be involved, for council to formally appoint those for the short term. And this, my understanding was the committee was only going to be until the election, and then the new council would appoint a new committee, which would be then appointed based on the terms of reference that are agreed upon by them.
Okay.
Okay?
And on the discussion regarding the trustees, the school trustees, what was the motion made there?
Sorry. The motion will be basically what I gave you tonight, okay? But certainly referring to the Township of Uxbridge, and probably might not be verbatim, but this will be basically the...
Basically this.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Yes, and I will be sending a letter asking for them to appear before council.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. I will also send a letter when I find out the names of the 2 trustees that voted in support of maintaining 2 trustees in the north. Okay. Anything else, Roger? Nothing, Dan? Why do I call him Dan?
We used to have a Dan.
Dan, yeah. Nothing? Moya, nothing? Audience? Nothing? Okay, good. I go home and have a drink. Yeah. Too bad I don't drink. Anyway.
Motion to go into camera?
Yeah, so we need a motion to go into camera, please. Been moved by Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Carried. Have a great Easter, everybody. Hope the bunny's good to you.